Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. I'm John Gonzalez, the dad. And on today's podcast, we have all three of the sons joining us to talk about the Major League Baseball 2024 postseason awards. Let's introduce the sons that are live with us right now. We'll also have son number three on as well. Joining us from Charlotte, North Carolina, it is Zach Gonzalez. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to chat baseball again. Glad we could all get together for this.
Yeah, after the World Series, it's tough, but we do have our postseason awards, which is good. It keeps us talking about baseball. Son number two is based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It is Ty Gonzalez. Ty, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Glad we can do episodes back to back weeks. I had really fun with the last episode we did early in the morning, kind of recapping the 2024 season and kind of our predictions for what the off season might look like. So I'm excited that we get to do another episode today.
Awesome. I am excited as well. Son number three is Zane Gonzalez. He's based in South Bend, Indiana. He will be joining the show a little later. He's busy with his I guess well he had fall baseball. Now he's into winter workouts. He remains in baseball. He is the associate head coach at Indiana University at South Bend, where he's working with pitchers and relievers and who knows what else he's doing. I know he's busy working in the off season right now, getting ready for his spring season. So let's jump into it right now. But before we do get into the postseason awards coming up and kind of our predictions for that, Zach, can you kind of last night I was texting both of you. There was an award show on Thursday night, and there were some kind of there's some minor awards. Actually, I don't know if they're minor awards that maybe I don't have the big names to them that were handed out on Thursday night.
Yeah, so Thursday night they did a number of awards. The first one was the All MLB team, first team, second team. So you have one player at each position across Major League Baseball. And then they announced the Hank Aaron Award winner, which is most outstanding offensive player. That went to Aaron Judge and his 58 home runs. And then there's the Outstanding DH Award that went to Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 season. This is his fourth straight time winning the Outstanding DH Award. That ties David Ortiz. He did it 5 years in a row from '03 to '07. And then relievers of the year were Emmanuel Clase from the Cleveland Guardians. He had that 0.66 ERA, which is just unreal, to give up a half of a run during 9 innings. And then Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals led the league with 49 saves. And then the last one was Comeback Players of the Year. So that was Chris Sale from the Atlanta Braves, who won the pitching triple crown, which is when you lead your league in wins, strikeouts, and ERA. And then it was Garrett Crochet on the American League side.
So those are some of the awards that were handed out last night. MLB Network was the show, and then coming up next week, to is going to be a big week because this is where we hear the prestigious awards. Can you run down some of the awards and the timeline of when we're going to be hearing who wins them?
Yep. So Monday night will be the Rookies of the Year award. So you get one winner from American League side, one from National League side. Tuesday night, November 19th, will be Managers of the Year. Wednesday night, November 20th, will be the Cy Young Award winners. And then Thursday night, November 21st, will be MVP.
And then right around the corner, the winter meetings. uh,
Yep.
Ty, real quick, can you tell people a little bit about our podcast in case they have not listened to Big League Dreaming, the podcast? And can you explain what we do every single week?
Yeah, so if it's your first time listening, thanks for joining us today on this live stream. We do them every single Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a lot of fun. It's a dad and his three sons talking about the game they love, and we go into a ton of different topics all over, ranging from Little League baseball to professional baseball. And we also dive even deeper into some of the aspects that some people might not think of. We had a clubby on. We need to get an umpire on. We haven't had an umpire yet, but a whole bunch of scouts and agents we had on this season, coaches and players. So we kind of cover all aspects of baseball, and it's a lot of fun.
I like to say that it's a show with a dad and three sons, kind of like what they would do, just hanging out in the backyard or at the dinner table, just talking baseball. We don't get into glory days too much. We'll reflect on some of the playing days because all three of you have played college baseball, and I've coached baseball as well at all the different levels. And we're not the hot takers, right, Zach? We're not giving like hot takes on this or that. We're just having some real genuine conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. We each have our favorite teams too. So we're all, Dad's talking about the Tigers. I'm talking about the Mariners, Zane the Red Sox, and then Ty his Mets. But we try to mix in conversations about all the different teams as well.
And if you missed any of our previous episodes, this is season what, 4? Is that right, Ty?
Season 4. Yep, we hit episode 100 this year, and I can't believe next year we're on season 5 of this.
Season 5 of this. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for joining us, for making this happen every single week. It's a special thing for a dad to be able to do this with his three sons. All right, let's start out with the timeline. So, Zach, you said Monday is the first day we get a big award.
Yes, Monday night will be the Rookie of the Year award announcement.
All right, what can you tell us about Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, so I'll start with the American League because I feel like the National League's a little more flashy and fun. But the three finalists on the American League side are all from the AL East. So you have catcher Austin Wells from the New York Yankees, who had a really great year offensively, 13 home runs, 55 RBIs. Also calls a great game, a lot of strikes saved. Kind of came out of nowhere. It wasn't really like a huge prospect coming up or anything like that. So really cool for him to get some recognition. And then there's Luis Heel, who's a starting pitcher for the New York Yankees. He came up a little bit in 2020, 2021, 2022, didn't really show too much. And then this year he just broke out. 3.5 ERA, 171 strikeouts, 15 wins. He really stepped up when Garrett Cole was out for that period of time with the arm injury. He became the ace and was a big part of the reason why they moved on to the postseason and went to the World Series. And then Colton Cowser from the Baltimore Orioles, 24 home runs, 69 RBIs, 77 runs. Gunnar Henderson won it last year from the Orioles, so I don't know if they will get back-to-back winners. I predict Luis Heel will probably win the American League Rookie of the Year award. Um, on the NL side, you have Paul Skeens, who's the favorite, 1.96 ERA, 170 strikeouts, 11 wins, 0.95 WHIP. Just absolutely unreal, unreal season. And coming from LSU, watching him all that year, going to the College World Series, win the College World Series, you knew he was gonna come to the big leagues very quickly and just dominate. And a lot of people, the hype, he's the best pitcher. How long is it going to take for him to get to the major leagues? But is he going to dominate? His fastball shape is a little weird. And he goes to professional baseball and he tells the Pirates, "Hey, I have this splinker pitch that they wouldn't let me throw in LSU. Can I throw that?" And they're like, "Yeah, dude, do whatever you want." And then it becomes like his best pitch. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, totally unreal. He's going to be very good for a long time. Um, the other two guys, Jackson Merrill from the Padres and Jackson Churio from the Brewers. Jackson Merrill, 24 home runs, 90 RBIs. He was a shortstop his whole life, and then the Padres converted him to center field this year. He went out to center field, played an amazing center field, and he came up clutch multiple times, walk-off hits, walk-off home runs. He was just amazing all year long. Um, and then Jackson Churio from the Brewers, 21 home runs, 79 RBIs, 80 runs. He started off slow, but got super hot the second half of the year and had some amazing plays and home runs in the postseason. Churio, they signed him to that $86 million deal before he even touched the major leagues. So he was in the minor leagues and they gave him that huge extension because they believed in this guy. And it's going to work out for them. They're going to save a lot of money. The Brewers are not an organization that spends. So awesome move by the Brewers to lock him in. But Paul Skeens, he's your guy, man. I think he's going to take the Rookie of the Year award.
All right, well, that's a great recap, and I don't think you can go wrong with Skeens, your first choice in the National League, and then the American League. Who was your choice again?
Luis Heel started for the Yankees.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I mean, I saw him, like you said, when he filled in for Cole, became the ace for the Yankees. I thought, this is good to see. I mean, it's hard to root for the Yankees, but but it was good to see his success. Ty, any thoughts on Zach's predictions for those Rookie of the Year awards?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a lock, spot on, especially with Skeens. I mean, he was just I remember me and you talking about it at B Dubs with Zane when we did our B Dubs episode, and it was like, is he ever gonna slow down? And Zane was saying like, yeah, I think eventually after the All-Star break. Do you remember that conversation? He was saying, I think people will start kind of hitting him, and he'll have one bad outing maybe, and he just didn't stop. And so, I mean, just an impressive year, and it's going to be really exciting to watch him play over the next seasons.
We'll talk a little bit about him in the Cy Young discussion because he is a finalist for that as well. But he threw 133 innings, which I thought was pretty impressive, and was able to maintain his velocity. Zach, what is the next category and the next day for one of the postseason awards?
Yep, so the next one will be the following night, Tuesday, November 19th, and that will be Managers of the Year award. So for a breakdown on that, we're going to send it over to Zane, and he's going to cover Manager of the Year for us.
All right, we got Manager of the Year. Okay, so this is going to be 3 finalists for each league, American League and National League. We're going to start with the National League. You got National League's very, very interesting because you have 3 managers that were all in their first year with their ball clubs. You got Carlos Mendoza from the Mets. The Mets lost in the NLCS this year, but they made a great run. At one point, they were 11 games under 500 in June. Right, mid-June, they were still well below 500, then really went on a run. So Carlos Mendoza did a great job turning that team around and taking them to the playoffs in a good playoff run. Pat Murphy from the Brewers. The Brewers were NL Central champs. This was his first year. A lot of people were very happy and excited to see him get the job. And if he wins Manager of the Year, it would be the first time that a Brewers manager won this award. The third one for the NL would be Mike Shildt from the Padres. He used to be the manager over in St. Louis, which he had won this award previously in St. Louis. Shildt came in to kind of turn the Padres around, get them back to the playoffs. They won 93 games this year. He did a very good job with them. So this is his first year in San Diego. So that's kind of rounding out the NL. Carlos Mendoza from the Mets, Pat Murphy from the Brewers, Mike Shildt from the Padres. My pick to win this award in the National League, I think it's going to be between Mendoza and Murphy, but I think it's going to be Carlos Mendoza from the Mets. The way they turned around that ball club and really found their stride late in the season, that's what it's all about in baseball. It's not about how you start. It's about, staying the course and picking up strides late in the season and playing your best baseball at the end of the year. And he did a really good job turning that club around, keeping them on track, because it could have been really easy for them to fold it in and pack it in and say, hey, let's look forward to next year. But, the Mets are in a good spot right now, and, it's going to be interesting to see what they do this offseason. So my pick for NL is Carlos Mendoza of the New York Mets. And for the American League, you have the battle of the AL Central. Every manager is from the AL Central in this category. For the American League Manager of the Year, you have A.J. Hinch from the Detroit Tigers. This was their first postseason appearance in a decade. He was very creative with how they used their arms. Bullpen games weren't just bullpen games. He was running openers. He was very creative, especially after the All-Star break when they traded some arms, and they still found a way into the playoffs, and pretty much led by Tarek Skubal, but A.J. Hinch did a great job of leading that staff and getting them to the postseason and making a little bit of a run there. The other two are Matt Cottrero from the Royals. The Royals, great turnaround. They lost 106 games in 2023, turned it around, went 86 and 76, where it was a wild card team, led by Bobby Witt Jr., who's a MVP finalist this year. So he did a really good job with that Royals team. They're going to be exciting to watch in the next few years. And then finally, Stephen Vogt of the Guardians. He was in his first year with the Cleveland Guardians as a manager. A lot of people were iffy. What's he going to be like? Is he going to be able to lead them? They were the favorites to win the Central, and they did. They won the Central in his first year. They had the second best record in the American League. So that's going to be your nominees: AJ Hinch from the Tigers, Matt Cottrero from the Royals, Stephen Vogt from the Guardians. And my pick to win the American League Manager of the Year, I think I'm going to go with AJ Hinch from the Tigers. So the way he managed that team, around that team, a lot of people talk about, you got to cater how you coach to your team and your ball club. And I thought AJ Hinch did a phenomenal job of that, taking what he had and making it work and piecing it together. It might not have been traditional baseball, but he found a way to, maximize what he had in that clubhouse even after the trade deadline to get him to the postseason and go on a run that has Tigers fans really excited right now. So, my picks: Carlos Mendoza from the Mets and AJ Hinch from the Tigers to win Manager of the Year.
All right, there's Zane's predictions for the Manager of the Year, which I don't know. I think this year is pretty interesting. I mean, from the American League side, I mean, all the managers being from the American League Central, I think is pretty interesting, and I can't argue with this one. I think AJ Hinch's success was pretty unconventional, like Zane said. He went against some rookie managers there. He's the veteran manager, but I think it's a good pick. I agree with that. What about you, Zach and Ty?
Yeah, I really like what Vogt did over in Cleveland. Um, First year manager, like he was saying, uh, and he was the bullpen catcher for the Mariners last year. I was hoping he would stick around in Seattle, but he's so smart. I've heard him speak before at the coaches convention. He's a really good guy. And then um, it was good to see Mike Schilt from the Padres get some recognition as well. He's the Charlotte guy. He's a local guy here. I've met him before. So yeah, we'll see. Mendoza can't go wrong with that pick either.
Right, Ty?
Yeah, I can't go wrong with that, especially after the two. I mean, the Tigers and the Mets, we talked about them, especially a lot towards the end of the season. Just the fun that was and the magic both those teams had going for them, and both of them making it to the playoffs after just having terrible starts. It's kind of hard not to choose those managers. What I thought was kind of interesting though, and I don't know if this is something that is typical or not, or if it just this is how this kind of season went, but both the teams that were in the World Series didn't have their managers up for the Manager of the Year. Is that usually the case, Zach, or is that kind of a rarity?
Um, I think it's a little rare for both of them to not be in it, but I think uh, I think they're kind of looking at these awards a little differently than they used to. And you have such like good storylines this year. I think that's how why it shook out the way it did.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Good point. Good point, Zach. I think it is about story, and there's this year there were some great stories in both the American League and in the National League. So again, everyone, if you're just tuning in, this is Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. It's a dad and his three sons talking about the game they love. And today we're talking about postseason awards for the MLB 2024 season. All right, Zach. So we ran down Monday, Tuesday. What's happening on Wednesday?
Next one is the Cy Young Awards.
The Cy Young Award. All right. Well, this is my category, and I'm excited about talking Cy Young. And let's start out with the American League right away, because once again, the American League Central, we talked about this on the podcast several times throughout this season, where the Central has gone from the worst team in all of Major League Baseball, the worst division in Major League Baseball, to one of the best. And this is another good example of it when you have three of the top pitchers uh, is finalist in the Cy Young category. Tarek Skubal, Seth Lugo, Emmanuel Clase are all the three leading candidates. I don't know how. I guess the discussion. I mean, Seth Lugo, good season, right? I mean, let's not sell him short here. A pitcher for the Royals. He had a 3.0 ERA, 109 WHIP, 16 wins, 206 innings. He was a workhorse. 181 strikeouts to 48 walks. Pretty impressive numbers for Seth Lugo, but he's not in the major discussion. I think it boils down to Tarek Skubal and Emmanuel Clase. We talked about his numbers a little bit, Zach, for rookie of the year, or not for rookie of the year, for what was that?
Reliever of the year.
For reliever of the year. And his numbers were impressive. But I think it's been Tarek Skubal almost since early in the season. It's been all Tarek Skubal all the time. He's turned into a premier ace pitcher. I don't think there's a team. When it came to the trade deadline, there was a lot of discussion whether the Tigers would use him as leverage in a trade. But the Tigers are like, no way, we're not trading this guy. His numbers are mind-boggling. Along with his 18 wins, he had a 2.39 ERA, 0.922 WHIP, 228 strikeouts, 35 walks, 192 innings, workhorse ace. Clearly, I think the Cy Young winner in the American League. But the reliever from the Guardians, let's not sell him short. Like Zach was saying earlier, 0.61 ERA, 0.66 WHIP, 47 saves, 66 strikeouts to 10 walks, and 74 in the third inning. I mean, I don't like facing the Guardians with him at the back end of that bullpen. It's just scary. And I think the American League West or American League Central is going to stay hot going into 2025. But I think Tarek Skubal is your winner there. In the National League, I think this one's a little lot more for discussion. By the way, let's just say that Tarek Skubal, his success, Zach, I think you'd agree with this, and Ty, you as well as pitchers, first pitch strike, right? This guy was ahead of the count all the time.
Yeah, he was all the time, and I know you're gonna like this. He kind of reminds me of your boy Verlander when he was on the Tigers. He's the new Verlander.
The new Verlander. Your mom will be happy to hear that.
He is though. I mean, when Verlander was on the Tigers, it was like he came up with them and he just dominated, and it's like all over again.
Yeah, well, he
Scooball is
definitely will.
just fearless. He's like fearless on the mound. Like it's easy as a pitching coach to be like, preaching first pitch strikes. Like, hey, throw first pitch strikes, throw first pitch strikes. Like everybody knows if you get ahead in the count, your success rate goes up. But these are the best hitters in the world. Like I'm facing Judge, like I'm facing Otani, like these top hitters. Am I really gonna throw it kind of like inside corner for a strike? Like that's kind of scary. Like you have to be fearless to go for first pitch strikes all the time.
I love that about Scoble, and you're gonna get burnt every once in a while. We saw that a little bit in the postseason. But if you're fearless throughout the year, and then the hitters realize that because you're gonna win most of the time, and especially if you have nasty stuff like he does, yeah, you don't stand a chance for the most part. Let's go to the National League. Zach Wheeler from the Phillies, Chris Sale from the Braves, Paul Skeens are your three contenders for the 2024 National League Cy Young Award winner there, where Paul Skeens is hands down your favorite for Rookie of the Year. I don't know if he elevates himself in this first year for Cy Young category, although his numbers are impressive, like you said, Zach. 1.96 ERA, 0.95 WHIP, 11 wins, 170 strikeouts in 133 innings. That's pretty crazy right there. 32 walks. But I think it boils down to Chris Sale. Chris Sale and Wheeler. I think Chris Sale for me, not only for comeback player, but look at his numbers here: 2.38 ERA, 101 WHIP, 18 wins, 177 innings, 225 strikeouts, 39 K. I mean, Zach, as a lefty pitcher, you got to admire Chris Sale coming back and being the old Chris Sale, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's awesome to see. Good for him. I mean, when you win the Triple Crown for pitching, like, how do you not win the Cy Young? So it's gonna happen. I mean, Paul Skeens had an amazing year, but he didn't come up until middle of May. So Sale has a full month of more strikeouts and innings pitched than him. Um, Zach Wheeler had a great season too, but yeah, you're right. Chris Sale all the way.
Chris all the way. And this is also impressive. This will be his first Cy Young award, if assuming he wins here after having 7 previous top 6 finishes in the balloting. So that's a great comeback story. Good for him. Good for the Braves and Braves fans. Yeah, it's good. It's his award all the way. Ty, you would agree with this, right?
Yeah, yeah, especially I mean it's pretty surprising. I mean when he was with Boston he was dominant and then he had those years where it was just like, all right, I mean is he even good anymore? So to see what he did this year is really impressive.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we ran down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Do we have any awards?
The big one, the MVP.
All right, let's run down it, Ty.
All right, MVP I think is going to be kind of one of those categories that's it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's Judge in the American League and it's Ohtani in the National League. Those two guys just had monster seasons. The only two players in the MLB that hit over 50 home runs. Only two players that got over 120 RBIs. And I want to say Judge almost was at like 140 or something. I mean, even though Judge had a rough postseason, his regular season, I mean, almost 330, almost led. I mean, he almost won the Triple Crown. If it wasn't for Bobby Witt Jr., which Bobby Witt Jr. was actually a nomination, I think any other year, like Judge just had an unreal year. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is winning it because he had an amazing year. He was 330, over 30 home runs, over 100 RBIs, a ton of stolen bases. But I mean, Judge and Ohtani just had these crazy years. Ohtani was had games where he was hitting multiple home runs. I think he had a game where he hit 3 home runs. I mean, I think it's just a no question that those guys are going to win the MVPs on both sides.
Not only this year, but maybe 2025 as well. Zach, what are your thoughts about MVP award?
Yeah, I agree with Ty. It's pretty incredible that Ohtani is going to win MVP most likely on a season where he didn't even pitch. Um, and then I think about Judge, and I think about Judge in the future. You know, will he go to a corner? Will they move him to first base? Like his profile projects first base when he gets older and slows down. He can't run around in center field anymore. When he takes those miles off of his legs and he's standing at first base, is his power going to get even better because he's not, having to run around and make those catches in the gap? A couple of things that I think about there.
I mean, look at Miggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well, Ty, you got to give some love to Lindor, though, right? He was a finalist.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was saying, Bobby Witt Jr. in the American League, I think if Judge didn't have that season, but yeah, Lindor as well in the National League side had a really strong season. And if you don't, I think I said in one of our episodes, I think it was the episode where we did um, best MLB players for 2024 this season. Lindor had an MVP type season. If you don't have Ohtani in the mix, I mean he just had an outstanding season. Um, and I've been saying it on the podcast all year. He just started off so rough, and it was me and my father-in-law, who's a diehard Mets fan, were saying get rid of him, trade him. He's terrible. He's worthless. And then by the middle of the year, we're like, yeah, Lindor, he's the best player. So yeah, it was great to see him come around and be that face of the franchise that we knew he could be.
it was fun watching him throughout this year and watching him rebound and keep that franchise viable because I think early in the season, I know you Mets fans were like, oh, here we go again, right?
Yep.
But I mentioned 2025 only because I see Judge and we'll talk about 2025 down the road, but I see Judge going like that postseason was so bad for him, he's gonna come back with a vengeance, and I just he wants to prove something. So I would not be surprised if those two are back in the finals at Dodgers Yankees 2025. I think some people would love to see that rematch. But all right, we're running out of time here. Any other things we want to wrap up, Zach?
Just looking forward to the winter meetings, December 9th to the 12th, like you said.
All right. Tom, anything else you want to wrap up?
Yeah, just thanks everyone again for listening and tuning in to this episode of Big League Dreaming, the podcast. Again, we come out with episodes every single Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribe. We're close to 200 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you to all of you that are subscribed. We can see in our analytics that a ton of listeners are listening every week, but you're not subscribed. So if you have a quick second, hit that subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. And we will see you next Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.